Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle. Hey, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Something I started about 2.5 years ago. Ironically, I think I got it right. And I'm learning more about the Freemasons, the Theosophist Society, Rosicrucians, Kabbalah, Zionists, Jesuits, and so much more, which I've been going over in my videos. And since I took all my videos down and started replacing them after reviewing them, considering I believe I'm much more informed now than I was when I started. It's amazing what we learn. This is a repost of book review number 5. And that video was on the Citizens Rulebook. This stuff is important beyond belief. I'll read you a little story here. Section 2, give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry shocked. Young Christian attorney Patrick Henry saw why a jury of peers is so vital to freedom. It was March 1775 when he rode into a small town of Culpeper, Virginia. He was totally shocked by what he saw. There, in the middle of the town square, was a minister tied to a whipping post. His back laid bare and bloody with the bones of his ribs showing. He had been scourged mercilessly like Jesus with whips laced with metal. Patrick Henry is quoted as saying, when they stopped beating him, I could see the bones of his ribcage. I turned to someone and asked what the man had done to deserve such a beating as this. He was scourged for not taking a license. The reply given him was that the man being scourged was a minister who refused to take a license. He was one of 12 who were locked in jail because they refused to take a license. A license often becomes an arbitrary control by government that makes a crime out of what ordinarily would not be a crime. It turns a right into a privilege. 3 days later, they scourged him to death. So that's what's going on in the world right now. They're turning our rights into privileges. And they're trying to take away our rights. We do have a constitution. And apparently you get caught with these little books, they might think you're an anti-government belligerent or an insurgent or a terrorist. So if they do fabricate some event, collapsing the dollar, whatever, and stock market crash, and people start rioting, cut off the food stamps, the EBT cards, Social Security checks. They said the government went broke. And apparently, according to my research, all this is part of a plan. Going back even to, I've been doing this book, I got one more video to do, but 1912, with the Theosophist Society, social reconstruction. Think what that means. That means they have to tear down the Constitution, destroy it. Now, just so people know, here's how it's supposed to work with the Constitution. It all starts with God's laws. The 10 Commandments. Don't steal. Don't murder. Don't bear false witness. Don't covet what somebody else has. Get jealous and envious. And stuff like that. One God. And then, of course, Jesus' teaching would be the golden rule. Treat others how you would like to be treated. Reasonable? So you start out with God's laws. And our founders in the United States, 13 colonies, were Christians with Moses' 10 Commandments and Jesus' teaching to treat others. And we were declaring our independence from Britain, who wanted to be our master, our king, and treat us like slaves. So you get the religion, God's laws, the Constitution, which is supposed to protect us under God's laws, and then the Constitution dictates that we, the people, are in charge, and we elect people to represent us, our states, our communities, police department, all that stuff. So at the very bottom of the pecking order are the people that we elect. They're supposed to listen to the people. Well, if anybody knows anything about anything, it's all been turned upside down. Now the corporations are at the top, the elitists, the Zionists, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Vatican, the Jesuits. The people, apparently, into a Luciferian secret doctrine, mystery schools of Babylon, where all those lodges, these people swear under threat of death not to divulge the goings-ons and the secrets. So the corporations and the money people, the banksters, now control the politicians. The corporations are at top. And they control the politicians and other leaders and even CEOs, like Tex Mars says. Most of the huge corporations throughout the world have Jewish CEOs. And the answer to that is logical. You probably couldn't get a Christian man to do what some of these people do. Like Halliburton building FEMA camps to imprison people. And so much more. Rand Corporation. And it's a lot of these aerospace corporations, government contracts, black op projects, mind control. All this is real. So the corporations control the politicians. The politicians are worried that they're going to be caught what they're doing, not representing the people, actually planning to enslave the people with the New World Order and New Age. So the politicians are now increasing legislation and police acts like the Patriot Act and other things, and legislation that like Obama can have anybody apprehended, thrown in prison without any representation, notification of his family, no lawyer, no nothing. And of course all this surveillance, and now they want to microchip people. So now the people are on the bottom, who have to watch their every step, who have to live in fear. They've switched it all around. And the opposite of Jesus and Moses' 10 Commandments, God, would be Lucifer worship. And it's ever so real right now, some of the goings-on in the world today. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube videos and many books I have. So I thought I'd just read a couple things from this Constitution and make a couple points. Amendment number 2. And remember, they can't alter this Constitution. But they don't want you to believe that. They're trying to come up with this new theory, a living, breathing Constitution, which nothing could be further from the truth. So if they ban rifles, and you get caught with one, and they take you to court, the ban is an illegal law. And if you have a jury of your peers, local citizens in your neighborhood, they can say not guilty. Even though you had the gun, you admit you had the gun, the law itself was illegal. The judge and the lawyers do not want you to know that. So it says on Amendment 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There's no little asterisks here or no little details. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And the way I understand it back then, it was mandatory for you to have a weapon and go to training, the 13 colonies. So anyways, some interesting news has come to my attention. Somebody wrote an article. My printer wouldn't print it out right. But I do have the second page. So America's gun culture has been the subject of intense interest and controversy for years, with concerns frequently raised about shadowy militias, paramilitary extremists, and unstable zealots in possession of alarming quantities of explosives and firearms. So, you know, after 9/11, they went after Iraq, Afghanistan, and since then they've overthrown many countries. And according to a Pentagon insider, friend of General Wesley Clark, he was pulled aside when he was walking down the hall and said the Bush administration they were planning to overthrow 7 countries in the Middle East. And General Wesley Clark said, why? And his friend said, I don't know. And of course, we all know since then they've overthrown more than 7, and they're relentlessly bombing and destroying buildings and everything in Syria and many other places, and a lot of other crazy things going on. So that place was under attack. Now it appears the United States of America, and I probably would assume Europe and other free countries, are going to be targeted. So if you were going to target your population, you're these Zionist, Illuminati, Vatican, kings and queens, elitist, with underground tunnel facilities, and you were going to crash the system and change the paradigm from the people and the Constitution to now kings and queens and elitist aristocrats, and the citizenry being microchipped population. If you were going to do that, if that was part of the plan, as it says, social reconstruction, then the prelude to that would be to disarm the people, to have less resistance. Well, I've got some disturbing news. A report issued this month by American Transparency, a nonpartisan watchdog, that compiles data on public expenditures, chronicles the explosive and expensive trend towards militarizing federal agencies, most of which have no military responsibilities. Between 2006 and 2014, the report shows 67 federal bureaus, departments, officers, and services spend at least $1.48 billion on ammunition and material one might expect to find in the hands of SWAT teams, special forces soldiers, or terrorists. So many of the federal government agencies are arming up. At least we forget a lot of that equipment from Iraq war. They've been trying to force on, give away to police departments and sheriff offices all over the country. Incredibly intense equipment they use in a war in Iraq. The largest share of that spending has gone to traditional enforcement agencies, such as the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, but the arms race has metastasized to federal agencies with strictly regulatory or administrative functions. The Internal Revenue Service, for example, now spends more than $1 million annually on firearms. Ammunition and military gear, double what it was spending a decade ago. Since 2006, the Department of Veterans Affairs which has been sharply criticized for episodes of fatal incompetence in patient care, has poured nearly $11.7 million into guns and ammo. Even the Smithsonian Institute and the Social Security Administration have each devoted hundreds of thousands of dollars to weaponry. So I did have this list here. I'll see if I can find it. So I couldn't print it out, but I could see it on my computer. Didn't want to print out the right size of the picture. All right, here we go. Listen up. You can look this up. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, is stockpiling military weapons, and it's not alone. By Jeff Jacoby, Globe columnist, June 26th, 2016. So anyways, the Department of Veterans Affairs, $11.7 million. The Internal Revenue Service, $10.7 million. $4.8 million is the Animal and Plant Inspection Services. The Bureau of Public Dep is $2.8 million. The National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration, $1.02 million. The Food and Drug Administration, $815,000. Social Security, $417,000. Department of Education, $413,000. Smithsonian, $309,000. National Institute of Standards and Technology, $262,000. So, Small Business Administration, $76,000. And Railroad Retirement Board, $44,000. So the federal agencies, supposed to be working for we the people, are arming up. You can look up that document. And then we know now that there are plenty of propaganda out there. This is very important. Trying to create acceptance by the population that guns should be removed from the people. And apparently now there's seemingly interesting evidence that even the Orlando gay bar shooting has some very suspect pieces of information left out to the public. One is that guy that they're blaming it all on apparently was working for a very sophisticated security firm and had a very interesting past. Another guy says the witnesses reported 4 shooters, snipers. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. They've been doing Boston bombing, Sandy Hook, which many people can clearly see, they used crisis actors and did this propaganda that I've gone over in previous videos, that there's even legislation passed making it legal for the government to do this. Public propaganda. So many of these shootings, many investigators, smarter guys than me, who really spend a lot of time on this stuff. 911 was an inside job. Many people are very clear about it. Even when that plane hit the Pentagon, there was no debris. No bodies, no nothing. Strange. So all these things are now seemingly the Orlando gay shooting, which I thought to myself, I said, wait a minute. They're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. One, they get to demonize gun ownership. And 2, they get to say that the gay people are targets. And they've been shoving the gay gender, along with even pedophilia and other things, down our throats and forcing it on children and cartoons and school teachings and videos. So one really has to scratch one's head and say, is this truly a satanic Luciferic doctrine coming our way? And according to my research, and I've got some more to go over that's so clearly focused on showing that, like the Theophist Society, started by Helena Blavatsky, who created the Lucifer magazine and the Lucifer Publishing Company and a lot of the New Age material. This new religion of the cosmos, the very bizarre teaching, Kabbalah, witchcraft and magic, and I've got the material, and I'm going to make the videos. The dots are connected right up with Morals and Dogma of the Freemasons, The Secret Doctrine, the Rosicrucian, a book I'm reading right now that's just full of information. A person who was seemingly into the Kabbalah and the Rosicrucianism, occultism. Robert Flood. Fascinating book. And it mentions in here clearly, I had to underline this, it's just too unbelievable, but it even says the words, page 11, as it surfaced in the Europe of the 16th and 17th centuries, it has been called Rosicrucian, and there are worse labels for it. Hence, we may certainly say that Flood's philosophy is Rosicrucian. In spirit, even if he never belonged to the Brotherhood, if there was a Brotherhood, and this book was written by an insider of the Freemasons, but he clearly, actually it's Manly Hall, who's one of the leaders of the Freemasons, the heroes in many books published by him. So I'm connecting this occultist here with the Rosicrucian, with the Freemasons, and it says in here the Kabbalah, the Hermetic text. It says Kabbalah, magic. It says magic and Kabbalah right in the same sentence here. Where my finger is. If you want to pause your computer and see it. So basically we have a agenda by these people who want to control the world, and this propaganda that is relentless and relentless. And we can probably name like 5 of them very simply. The global warming, or sometimes they say global cooling. Now they say climate change, number 1. Number 2, sustainability, biodiversity, overpopulation. All these fears, dollar crashing, stock market crashing, World War III, number 2. Number 3, the pole shifting, Planet X, Yellowstone blowing up, all kinds of crazy things. Earthquakes increasing, aliens, UFOs. Number 4, the gay agenda and pedophilia, pansexualism, transgenderism, and 5, I think I could think up one more, and gun confiscation, terrorism, and making out people, citizens, to be crazies with programs like Gotham and Texas Rangers and so many more. Movies like Hunger Games, Divergent, and all the information in cartoons and magazines, Grammys, Emmys, football halftime shows, the grand opening of that tunnel in Switzerland, all with satanic, demonic rituals, showing it to the public. Presidents and everybody doing this, and movie stars, everybody doing this, and so much more. And of course, the propaganda, mind controlling the people with these crisis shootings, apparently all planned. But here's more. Family plans to destroy stockpile of inherited guns and ammo worth millions, lawyer says. So who in their right mind who would inherit millions of weapons, millions of dollars worth of weapons, would destroy it? Because these people say they want these instruments of death to be destroyed. Meanwhile, all our federal agencies are spending 1 point something billion. So it's propaganda. It's a lie. And this other guy here writes, Butler I said his name was Handout, but it's John Butler on one of my previous videos. I know assault weapons, and you shouldn't have one. This is pure propaganda. All of our federal agencies are arming up and gearing up, and there's more crazy things going on right now. And what I'm going to do at the end of this little video will be the video I posted 2.5 years ago. But I just thought I wanted to get this out. I'll read Amendment 1 in the Constitution. We saw the one, but they can't infringe our right to own guns. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion and prohibiting of free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, and the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Well, I can tell you right now, they don't want you petitioning the government. They don't listen to us. They use marketing techniques, and they take polls, and they tell people what they want to hear. And even the governments across the board have rejected any kind of paper trail when you vote, pull the lever. And they are restricting free exercise, speech, religion. Even the Army manual says you can be court-martialed if you talk about Jesus in the military. Freedom of speech. They got creating this situation of something called hate speech. And apparently, if you don't agree with the pedophilia, gay agenda, and if you've seen some of the gay parades like in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's just sickening to watch the photos. These people aren't in love or decent human beings. They act like sick, perverted animals in the pictures. You can see it. One girl had a poster that said Dyke's Rule. Another guy had a poster that says, I bet hell is fabulous. And they're dressed like bizarre, witchcraft, demonic people, groping each other. Even a big celebration when they had that opening ceremony for the statue of Baphomet, the devil, with the horns, and 2 little children on each side of this devil in Detroit, looking up at him in awe. So, something's coming, and this, I want to just point out in this video before I end this, more propaganda. Memo to the NRA, go to hell. Look it up. I removed and delivered for destruction any weapon in my house that is not needed for self-defense or hunting. So they want people to be buying this stuff. Hook, line, and sinker. Go look it up. Here's one here, more global warming. Pink snow, pretty, but troubling sign of melting ice. It's crazier. This propaganda, this is my point on this opening on this video, is they're lying. They're arming up, gearing up, destroying Christianity, bringing us this sick, perverted doctrine. And this mom defends son who wears tutus. Do you have a tutu in your house? I don't have a tutu in my house. And nail polish show him acceptance. Who would let a 6-year-old, where does he even get this from, who dresses in pink tutus and paints his nails, has received a strong response in social media? Dad slams internet trolls who bash his toddler for playing with kitchen playset. We are not a threat. Transgender teen shares powerful message on bullying. Mom slams stranger for criticizing toddler's son's girly toy. Just propaganda. It made me nervous having this attention on us, but otherwise it made me happy. Devin Berryann of Pottstone, Pennsylvania, told ABC News, if he grows up deciding to be gay, or transgender. How does a 6-year-old, what are they even talking about here? Or whatever, it makes me happy to know that it'll have so much support. So I looked up Salon promotes pedophilia. Salon.com. Apparently, I got 7,160,000 results. My pedophilia essay outraged the right. What's Salon.com's really trying to do with this article on pedophilia? Virtuous pedophilias. The online magazine Salon has tried to normalize pedophilia. And Salon.com published some of these. You shouldn't own any weapons. People shouldn't have the right to have weapons. A plan promotes protection for pedophilia. I'm a pedophilia, but I'm not a monster. On Salon.com, it's what some guy wrote. Well, I'm sorry. Any grown man wanting to play with little children should be locked up. Yes, sexually with little kids, but this has been going back in history. Even the Talmudic Jewish people, in their Bible, you can look this up, they're allowed to have sex with 3-year-old little girls. And according to Rabbi Marvin Antelman in his books, this is part of their satanic religion. Apparently, according to Rabbi Marvin Antelman, leader of the Jewish Congress of the United States, pretty high up, says that one Jewish person would have his friend come over and have sex with his wife in front of him, and apparently it connected him to some higher power and made him a genius and smarter. Aleister Crowley apparently used sexual magic to communicate with other beings on the other side, behind the veil. You can hear the voice, but you can't see the beings when you use mediumship and psychic communication, remote viewing. So they're talking about removing the veil. I think they should leave the veil in place, personally. And one more article here, just to get my stuff off my chest here, these things that are just making me a little upset. Transhumanist. What is a transhumanist? Who humanist? Zoltan Istvan met with senior officials from the U.S. Navy. They asked his advice to help them draw up policies on microchip implants. So this wannabe vice president to Hillary Clinton, this guy, says right in here, he says, most of us carry a tracking device around with us every day in the form of a mobile phone. But some people are going further and having microchips embedded in their bodies. Now the U.S. Navy has grown so concerned over the practice that it is drawing up in an official policy to help it deal with personnel who have chips implanted. So this presidential candidate wants to, he believes, says right here on the top of this article, all children should get implants so they can be tracked. So anyways, this video I made a long time ago. This is about the Citizen's Handbook. I'm sure you can look it up and find it. There was one more thing in here. This guy here, Mr. Wilson. The people are the masters of both Congress and courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert it. Abraham Lincoln. So I think people need to look into this. It seems quite serious. The videos out lately, apparently they're predicting a collapse of the, or an adjustment of the value of the U.S. dollar bill. Some kind of catastrophe, they say, is looming. Apparently, according to some videos I've been watching that I've been sharing with my friends, one truck driver says a lot of those truck drivers that are delivering goods to those underground cities, like under Denver Airport, he says the truck drivers are coming up missing. And apparently the truck driver said he was delivering 2-foot high, 3-foot high boxes, 8 foot long, full of bullets to these facilities, and something called stun grenades, which I guess if you threw it in a group of people it would stun everybody. And apparently in Texas, there was a couple locations on that video that they found some mass graves. And then there was another video talking about a lot of homeless people are coming up missing. And the EBT cards, the food stamp cards, apparently in several cities are starting to fail. And all this craziness stuff, talk about martial law, and Britain, London, United Kingdom there, exited the EU, and apparently some other countries are going to exit the EU, and apparently it's causing financial destruction and chaos all over the world. So there's a lot of posturing and things going on right now, and it just might behoove us that we're the ones who are supposed to be in charge, and they're trying to make us out to be the terrorists, and they want to shut us up. So anyways, thank you for listening to me. I'm just trying to get the word out there that something's not right. And our forefathers, had the sense to create some rules and rights for us that the people right now are trying to take away. Could be a very interesting next 6 months. Who's going to be president? The Masonic Mr. Trump, with two of his children marrying into wealthy Jewish families. How influential will the Jewish people have on Trump? Is he a shill? If his condo in New York looks like a Freemasonic lodge, I should know, I've been reading enough on that stuff. Or Hillary, who has been, according to Larry Nichols, Alex Jones and Lisa Haven and other people on the videos I've watched, apparently has attended witchcraft covens and is into that. And there's many mysterious things going on with Bill and Hillary. So it's all bizarre, completely disrespectful to we the people. With the sky spraying of chemicals, seemingly controlling the weather, the Pacific Ocean with Fukushima. There's just so much I could say and try to get the word out. But I'll stop here. And now you can see my video I published 2.5 years ago. What's with all the devil signs? Is this photoshopped, or are these real hand devil signs? I wonder what's going on in the world. Government shutdown, all the wars, all the laws, all the seemingly rules and regulations and our rights being taken away. Are we being mind controlled? So I thought I'd review the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So let's take a look and you decide. Thank you so much, Rick Merkel. Well, for today's video, number 5, I thought I would talk about our rights. The first 4 videos talked about the Masonic Bible, the Illuminati, psychic abilities, and I think it's time to talk about our rights. This little handbook came out, and apparently if you have this handbook and you're caught with it by the officials, the police, they want to designate you a possible terrorist. So let's see what it is that they're afraid of. I'll read the back of it. Inscribed on our hollowed Liberty Bell are these words: proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. I'm going to ad lib as I usually do, but with all the laws and spying on us, it seems like our liberty is starting to be in danger. Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is force, like fire. It is dangerous. It is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. George Washington said that. George Washington said, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Woe to those who decree unjust statutes, and to those who continually record unjust decisions, to deprive the needy of justice, and to rob the poor of my people of their rights. Our rights are being taken away at an increasing pace. You know, at an airport, they're now over the loudspeakers saying that if you make any kind of insulting remark about being frisked and having the TSA stick their hands in your underwear or your kids' underwear, because you make a sarcastic remark that says on the loudspeaker, you can be arrested. How far is this going to go? That's why I, Rick Miracle, am doing these videos. And I don't belong to any organization other than the human race. And this is targeted towards you, people, rich and poor, black and white, male and female. We need to wake up. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. In the Bible, Hosea 4:6. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke, 1729, 1797. That's when he lived. So these concerns of these people were concerning back then. This is 2013. We can see the problems, but everybody seems to be dancing to the Pied Piper, watching American Idol, and believing that they should celebrate it when anybody comes out and says they're a homosexual. How strange is it going to get, the world? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. So it says right here, if we wake up, say, God, we're sorry, and help us, things will turn out all right. But so that's why I do these videos. I'm doing my part. What about you? We must obey God rather than men. The Bible again, Acts 5-29. Okay. Citizen Rulebook. So I'm just going to do the first 2 pages here. President Lincoln said, study the Constitution. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislators, and enforced in courts of justice. That's what he thought. And he was assassinated by the Illuminati, the Masonic people, the Zionists, the people, the Bank of England, the people who control the world, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, so many names. These videos that I do will try to target all this information and tie everything we've been reviewing together. Rights come from God, not the state. Well, I'm here to tell you now, socialism, forced socialism, is communism. Communism worships Lucifer. Lucifer does not want you to worship God. All this stuff they're telling you is propaganda. The fear that we see in the news, the bombings, the wars, AIDS, swine flu, nuclear radiation, oil spills, birds dying, bees dying, sky spraying, HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, look it up. These people have a huge plan. You have rights to all, you have rights I can't understand that word. You have rights higher to all earthly governments. God's rights, your rights, are higher than the government. That cannot be repealed or restrained by human laws. Rights derived from the great legislator of the universe, God. John Adams, the second president of the United States, said that. I'm going to pause. All right, this is very important, so let's focus. A handbook for jurors. That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. The Constitution of the United States. Abraham Lincoln. That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. Jury Handbook. Just going to read 2 pages. The purpose of this booklet is to revive, as Jefferson put it, the ancient principles. It is not designed to promote lawlessness or a return to the jungle. The ancient principles refer to the 10 Commandments and the common law. The common law is, in simple terms, just plain common sense. We reviewed the book, Thomas Paine, Common Sense. We're going to look at that again. Just plain common sense, and has its roots in the 10 Commandments. Again, number 6, don't murder. Number 7, no adultery. Number 8, no stealing. Number 9, don't covet. Number 10, don't bear false witness. In 1776, we came out of bondage. Prior to that, we were under the King of England. Remember, they also call London and Europe the United Kingdom. Britain and all those people with the banksters, the royalty, you know, what have they done? They ruled China for a while, India for a while. They ruled the United Kingdom. They're telling you what they are. And they don't want you to obey God's laws. They want you to obey their laws, be a slave, and they want to make a profit off of you, and they want you to be as least expensive as possible, and if you're not producing anything for them, then they want you to die and not live. In 1776, we came out of bondage with faith, understanding, and courage. Even against great odds, and with much bloodshed, we battled our way to achieve liberty. Liberty is that delicate area between the force of government and the free will of man. Liberty brings freedom of choice to work, to trade, to go and live wherever one wishes. Well, that's about to change. We're going to divide the seams if you do some homework on the internet and check it. They're trying to unite Canada and United States and Mexico into a big union. And you won't be able, and they'll have, the United States will be like 6 different territories. They have FEMA maps already showing you what they'll be. And whenever they pull this coup off, which maybe they already have, you won't be able to go anywhere without permission. Trust me on this. You're not going to like what's coming next if we allow it. Liberty brings freedom of choice to work, to trade, to go and live wherever one wishes. It leads to abundance. Abundance if made an end in itself, in other words, if all you care about is working and obtaining things, will result in complacency. You won't be paying attention to the political people running the show. In this case, as horrible as it seems, it's the huge corporations, which are, if you look it up on the internet, are run by the Zionists, which are run by the Illuminati. This thing is full circle all the time. So easy to see once you get it. Will result in complacency, which leads to apathy. That's what people say. It's too complicated. It's too crazy. I don't care. Leave me alone. And if it happens, it happens. And if I die, I die. And I hear that from everybody lately. That's, as far as I'm concerned, insane. I mean, think about your children. Think about your children's children. Think about the future. Are we throwing it away for this football season? For a house? Apathy is the let George do it. It's the King of England, George. In our case, it's been George Bush and George Bush. And Jeb Bush wants to get in, and then it was their dad, Prescott Bush, and Clinton, and now Obama. All these people. Fritz Springmeier wrote a book, by the way, Illuminati. We're going to review that one of these days. And he pretty much proved that 80-90% of all the presidents are related to each other and to the king of England or France or whatever. We've been having kings all along. We're just calling them presidents, and we don't know it. This always brings dependency. Let George do it. For a period of time, dependents are often not aware that they are dependent. They delude themselves by thinking they are still free. We never had it so good. We can still vote, can't we? Eventually, abundance diminishes, and dependency becomes known by its true nature, bondage. What, 50 million people on food stamps right now and aid? And all the government has to do, right now we're in the government shutdown, all the government has to do is turn that switch off. Within 72 hours, people will be rioting all over the country. You don't think they know that? You don't think that's part of the plan? Darn. I don't like doing these videos. I mean, but I felt I had to start. I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur, as you can tell. And so this isn't the way, the quality of this video, you know, the artistic portion of it is not what this is about. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to go look this stuff up. I'm worried about me too, because if you don't wake up, I'm going down with the ship. We all are. There are a few ways out of bondage. Bloodshed and war often result. But our founding fathers learned of a better way, realizing that the Creator is always above and greater than that which He creates. They established a 3-vote system by which an informed citizenry can control those actions in the name of government. To be a good master, you must always remember the true pecking order, or chain of command in this nation. Pay attention and listen to this. The pecking order. Who's at the top? God created man. Of course, from the last 20 years, if you watched TV cartoons and TV programs and all the propaganda, they've been mind controlling you, trying to make you believe that that's not true. Meanwhile, at the Bohemian Grove in California, presidents have been photographed there and lots of other elite, powerful people, having a big bonfire under the demon Moloch and throwing a child into the fire, having satanic ritual celebrations. And this has been going on in many places of the world. And you don't know that. They don't want you to know that. But you can look that up. Alex Jones snuck in, videoed it. You should see the screaming and the hollering. It's too bizarre to believe. There's so much evidence. I've read the books, over 100 books, and we're going to go through these books. And after a while, you're going to get it. Then maybe we'll be saved. The Creator, He creates. They established a 3-vote system by which an informed citizenry can control those acting in the name of government. So where we were, the chain of command. God created man. Man, you and me, created the Constitution, our forefathers. So God created us. We created the Constitution. The Constitution created the government. And the government created the corporations. That's the pecking order. The corporations are at the bottom. Okay, now let's talk about today. And we know that the corporations control the politicians who gets in office. The politicians control the laws, and the laws control you. They completely reverse the pecking order. Because we don't rise up and do anything, and we're allowing this. The base of power was to remain in we the people. But unfortunately, it was lost to those leaders acting in the name of government, such as politicians, bureaucrats, judges, and lawyers. As a result, America began to function like a democracy instead of a republic. So they do all this propaganda for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They program the people to believe something different. Then when they vote with this new mind-controlled belief, running around proclaiming there is no God, you're crazy. And they don't know that they've been fooled. Instead of a republic. A democracy is dangerous because it is a one-vote system, as opposed to a republic, which is a three-vote system. The 3 votes to check tyranny, not just one. American citizens have not been informed of their other 2 votes. Well, maybe this will help you remember. The first vote is at the polls on Election Day, when we pick those who are to represent us in the seats of government. And remember, with the new electronic polling machines, the government has viciously denied, turned down, objected to, opposed, adamantly. No paper trail on these electronic machines. That in itself should tell anybody it's a rigged system. They are fooling you. They are making you think you are voting for somebody. But with a click of a button, their guy gets in. And what do you get? Do you want to know? But what can be done if those elected officials don't perform as promised or expected? And everybody is completely aware now about Obama, what he said prior to the election, what he did after, and then what he even did after that. He's a clone of George Bush. I'm no fan of the Republicans or the Democrats. They both are controlled by these Illuminati dudes. And they worship Lucifer. And they don't want you to believe in God. Remember, we had that one book we reviewed, Psychic Research. Power of prayer, your mental ability. You manifest your own reality. So when you believe in God and you believe in being good to other people and you want to be treated fairly, that manifestation, that talking to God creates reality. They don't want you to know that. They want you to think everything is okay. Like on this 2.5 Men, when Charlie sleeps with a different girl on every show. They're programming you. The cartoons, watch what your kids are watching. You'll see it. Seinfeld, girl, a different show. Millions of Americans are watching this every day. Me, I'm a victim. I was being programmed. I laughed at that. I watched it every day. It was addicting. But I was being programmed, nevertheless. Okay, the first vote is when you vote at the polls. But what can be done if those elected officials just don't perform as promised or expected? Well, the second 2 votes are the most effective means by which the common people of any nation on earth have ever had in controlling those appointed to serving them in government. So the other 2 votes are how we control those who don't do what we say. The second vote comes when you serve on the grand jury. Before anyone can be brought for trial for a capital or infamous crime by those acting in the name of government, permission must be obtained by people serving on the grand jury. So they can't just bring somebody who we elect to trial without a grand jury, and you're the grand jury, the people who we choose. And so that's the second means by which we can turn this around. The Minneapolis Star and Tribune on March 27, 1987 edition noted a purpose for the grand jury this way. Noted a purpose for the grand jury this way. The grand jury's purpose is to protect the public from the overzealous prosecutor. So if those prosecutors want to start prosecuting people, sheriffs, governors, elected leaders that we elect, who want to look out for our interests and try to tell us what's going on, we can say no. The third and most powerful vote, that is when you are acting as a jury member during a courtroom trial. People have to go to, I was at jury duty not too long ago. I didn't get called, but I had to go sit in a room all day, and I might have been called. But you're not going to believe what you can do, but what the judge tells you can't do. At this point, the buck stops with you. It is this setting that each juror has more power than the president and all of Congress and all of the judges combined. Congress can legislate, make law. The president or some other bureaucrats can make an order or issue a regulation, and judges may instruct or make decisions, but no juror can ever be punished for voting not guilty. Okay? Any juror can, with impunity, choose to disregard the instructions of any judge or attorney in rendering his vote. Remember, from the top down is God, and it's the Ten Commandments and the Constitution that are our guiding lights. So if they make a law that says you can't trespass, and let's say it's at a national monument, and they haul you into court, and you're a juror, and there's the victim sitting there being prosecuted. If that no trespassing sign in that prosecution overrides your right to free speech, overrides your right to what the Constitution, the right to enjoy life, to all those higher order, which we'll get into. If they're making laws that supersede the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you don't have to listen to the judge when he says, even though the guy trespassed, and he admits it, if the law was unjust and the law went against the Bill of Rights, the law went against the Constitution, you as a juror can let that person off. But the judge is going to tell you different. He says, you'll listen to me. He's lying to you. He wants to put man's law above God's law, above the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, their laws, the ones who are taking over the world, the country, the New World Order, the globalization, the Illuminati, the Zionists, the Freemasons, the CEOs of huge corporations. Any juror can, with impunity, choose to disregard the instructions of any judge or attorney in rendering his vote. If only one juror should vote not guilty for any reason, there is no conviction and no punishment at the end of the trial. Thus, you have more power than the president, the senators, the congressmen, the judges, the governors. You have more power than anybody. Even the judge telling you what you can and can't do, he's lying to you. Thus, those acting in the name of government must come before the common man, you, to get permission to enforce the law. That's your power. You are above the law when you sit on a jury. As a juror in the trial setting, when it comes to your individual vote of innocent or guilty, you truly are answerable only to God Almighty. The First Amendment of the Constitution was born out of this great concept. However, judges of today refuse to inform jurors of their rights. The Minneapolis Star and Tribune, in a newspaper article appearing in November 30th, 1984 edition entitled, "What Judges Don't Tell Jurors," stated, at the time of the adoption of the Constitution, the juror's role as defense against political oppression was unquestioned in the American jurisprudence. This nation survived until 1850, when prosecutions under the Fugitive Slave Act were largely unsuccessful because jurors refused to convict. So this country survived because jurors refused to convict. The tyranny was nipped in the bud because of you and me, our forefathers and foremothers, people who sat on the jury. The judges began to erode the institution of free juries, leading to the absurd compromise that in the current state of the law, while our courts uniformly state jurors have the power to return a verdict of not guilty, whatever the facts, they are routinely tell the jurors, this is the judges, the opposite. Further, the courts will not allow the defendants or their counsel to inform the jurors of their true power. A lawyer who made Hamilton's argument would face professional discipline and charges of contempt of court. So, if your lawyer told you this stuff or told the jury, they would punish him. Now, they don't even want the lawyers to tell you of your rights. Their little circle, the law association, would punish them. But what logic should juries have? By what logic should the juries have the power to acquit a defendant, but no right to know about that power? So you have the power to do it, but they don't want you to know you can do it. But you know it now. The court decisions that have suppressed the notion of jury nullification cannot resolve this paradox. More than logic has suffered. As originally conceived, juries were to be a kind of safety valve, a way to soften the bureaucratic rigidity of the judicial system by introducing the common sense of the community. If they are to function effectively as the conscience of the community, jurors must be told that they have the power and the right to say no to a prosecution in order to achieve a greater good. To cut jurors off from this information is to undermine one of our most important institutions. Perhaps the community should educate itself. Then citizens called to jury duty could teach the judges a needed lesson in civics. This booklet is designed to bring to your attention one important way our nation's founders provided to ensure that you, not the growing army of politicians, judges, lawyers, bureaucrats, in our case, NSA, TSA, Homeland Security, FEMA, rule this nation, and they're buying up bullets. If you knew what this says and you told everybody, we could stop that. It will focus on the true power you possess as a juror, how you got it, why you have it, and remind you of the basis of which you must decide not only the facts placed in evidence, but also the validity and applicability of every law, rule, regulation, ordinance, or instruction given by any man seated as judge or attorney when you serve as a juror. Well, one juror can stop tyranny with a not guilty vote. He can nullify bad law in any case by hanging the jury. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. What I can do, I should do, and with the help of God, I will do. Everett Hale. So I'll end with this on this video. There's more to go here, and what maybe in the future I'll read it and reference some more of this little pamphlet. But I encourage you to go read the Bill of Rights and read the Constitution. You know they're trying to take our guns. For this closed government, they have closed down all the national parks across the country. And it is my suspicion that when they try to pull off this coup of a communist takeover of the U.S., it's called the New World Order. The national parks will be closed off permanently. You won't be allowed to go in the woods. Remember the King of England? Don't shoot deer in the King's Forest. That's man's laws. That's kingdom. That's coming. That's communism. You'll be assigned to a job. You'll be assigned to a village. Now remember, when the Russia at the revolution was taken over, 66 million people, it is said, were killed. And most of them starved to death. And in the United States, with the 300 million we have, one little nuclear explosion or economic collapse or fabricated swine flu, whatever they decide, will shut down the highways. 72 hours, the supermarkets will be empty, and starvation will proceed. 100 million people, what, in a month? Remember, these people worship Lucifer. Lucifer wants to see mankind dead. God sent you the Ten Commandments and wants to see you live forever. I'm not talking about religion here. I'm just talking about a simple fact. I'm a scientist. I have an electronic engineering technician education. I worked at an aerospace company for 10 years. I had my own company for more than the past 20 years in commercial business. I'm just a regular guy who read Henry Macau's book. I mean, I read over 150 books, but just recently Henry Macau's book, Illuminati, the Cult That Took Over the World. And that was the kick in the butt I needed to get out there and start doing these videos, which I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, and I'm trying to improve my speaking ability, and I feel as I do it, I will. So the quality of how I'm speaking, or this whole video, is not the point. I write comments on press releases in the computer on the internet, and I get an insult back that somebody says I spelled hay wrong. Instead of hay, H-E-Y, I spelled H-A-Y, because it was the correct spelling, and the spell checker didn't show it. So the comment I made was critical, but the person didn't care about the comment and the concern. He was concerned about the spelling. This goes to show you. Are we people getting more stupider every day? We need to see what's going on. Wake up. Look around us. Read the Constitution. The right to free speech. They're trying to take that away. At the airport, like I just said, if you make a comment that you're unhappy that they're frisking your little girl, 5 years old, with a hand in her pants, you can be arrested. How insane is that? Go on the internet. The government's bought billions and billions of bullets, even hollow points that explode on impact. These are our Social Security and FEMA and the IRS. To police us, do they need hollow point bullets that'll blow our heads right off? Oh my God, what is going on? Anyways, Rick Miracle reporting. And again, I don't get any pleasure on these videos. But it's a necessary evil and a necessary thing that we wake up. If we want to keep our freedom, which is already diminishing, it's like pulling the plug in the tub, that water's going down. Freedom is going down the drain. Let's plug it back up and fill it back up. That's my thinking. God bless us all. God bless the U.S. God bless the world. God help us all. That's what I think. What do you think?